Welcome to Stories Pulse, where every tale takes you on a journey filled with mystery, adventure, and suspense. Today's story will pull you into the heart of Cedar Grove, where an ancient bus with its creaky wheels and echoing brakes brings secrets and surprises that no one could expect. If you're a fan of captivating stories that keep you on the edge of your seat, make sure to subscribe to Stories Pulse. Don't forget to like, comment, and hit the bell icon so you never miss our latest stories. Every tale is crafted to spark your imagination, and you won't want to miss a single twist or turn. Let's dive into the story. The glossy mahogany desk stretched like an ocean between Ashley Hayes and the man to whom she'd foolishly given her heart. Richard Parker stood behind it in his corner office on the top floor of Parker Agricultural Industries headquarters, a converted Victorian mansion that dominated Main Street. His custom-tailored suit was impeccable as always, the charcoal gray fabric worth more than Ashley's monthly salary. But his face, once so warm and loving, had transformed into something she barely recognized. "You really think I'd leave my wife for some secretary?" His voice dripped with contempt as he stared at the positive pregnancy test in her trembling hands. "How naive can you be? Did you actually believe all those little promises I made?" Ashley felt the ground shift beneath her feet. Just yesterday, in this very office, he'd held her close, whispering sweet nothings in her ear. He'd talked about their future, about the house they'd buy once his divorce was final, about the family they'd build together. Now his steel gray eyes held nothing but disdain. "But Richard, you said..." She struggled to keep her voice steady, conscious of the curious faces watching through the glass walls. "You told me your marriage was over, that you were just waiting for the right time to tell Margaret. You said you haven't shared a bed in over a year, that you were only staying together for appearances. Please," he cut her off with a dismissive wave, his gold wedding ring catching the light. "I was being nice to an attractive employee. If you read more into it, that's your problem." He straightened his Italian silk tie, her Christmas gift to him, purchased with 3 months of savings. "And frankly, who knows if that baby is even mine? A girl like you. Well, let's just say I've heard things about your after-hours activities." Through the glass walls of his office, Ashley could see their colleagues openly staring. Sandra from accounting wasn't even pretending to work, her mouth hanging open as she watched the drama unfold. Jim from marketing typed furiously on his phone, no doubt ensuring the entire company would know within minutes. Even Linda, her closest friend in the office, quickly looked away when their eyes met. "I've never been with anyone else," she whispered, her voice breaking. "You know that. You were my first. Everything I did for you." Her hand moved unconsciously to her still flat stomach, remembering the joy she'd felt just hours ago when the second pink line had appeared on the test. "What I know," Richard's voice turned as sharp as a blade, "is that you're fired. I won't have someone trying to extort me working in my company." He pressed a button on his desk phone, the same phone he'd used to call her late at night, begging her to come back to the office. "Security will escort you out. And Ashley, don't bother trying to make trouble. Nobody will believe you over me. I employ half this town, remember?" 2 security guards appeared at the door. Mike and Carl, who usually saved her parking spot on rainy days and brought her coffee on cold mornings. Now they wouldn't meet her eyes as they waited to escort her out. "Clear your desk within the hour," Richard added, already turning to his computer screen. "And leave your company phone and laptop. Can't have you taking any sensitive information with you, can we?" Words spread through their small Connecticut town like wildfire, burning away Ashley's reputation with ruthless efficiency. Richard Parker, the town's golden boy, who transformed his father's failing farm into a thriving agricultural empire, had been targeted by a scheming secretary. At least that's how the story was being told in the cafe along Main Street, in the pews of First Baptist Church, and in the aisles of Parker's Fresh Market, the grocery store that had made Richard's family fortune. In the days that followed her humiliating dismissal, Ashley felt the stares following her everywhere. Women clutched their purses closer when she passed, as if pregnancy were somehow contagious. Former friends crossed the street to avoid her, their heads bent together in whispered conversations. Even old Mr. Jenkins, who'd always given her extra produce at the farmer's market, now refused to meet her eyes. The rumors grew more outlandish with each passing day. At the pharmacy, where she'd gone to pick up prenatal vitamins, she overheard two women discussing her supposed wild parties with truckers. At the laundromat, someone had written "homewrecker" in lipstick on her favorite blouse. The local Facebook group was filled with thinly veiled posts about moral decay and young women who don't know their place. The confrontation with Dorothy Winters came 3 weeks after her firing. Ashley was struggling with groceries outside Pine Grove Apartments, the only affordable housing in town, when Dorothy's voice cut through the evening air like a whip. "You ought to be ashamed of yourself." The elderly woman's face was twisted with righteous fury, her perfectly permed gray hair quivering with indignation. "Trying to ruin a good man's reputation with your lies." "Mrs. Winters, please." Ashley clutched her grocery bag closer, one hand instinctively moving to protect her stomach. She'd known Dorothy for months, had even helped her carry groceries up the stairs when the elevator was broken. "Don't you Mrs. Winters me, you little—" "We all know about your wild parties. Did you think we couldn't hear the music? Couldn't see the men coming and going?" She jabbed a bony finger in Ashley's direction. "And now you're trying to pin your mistake on Richard Parker? He's done more for this town than you could ever understand." Dorothy's voice rose higher, ensuring their growing audience could hear every word. "The food bank he started, the new library wing, keeping prices low at his stores, even during hard times. That man is a saint. And you," she spat the word like poison, "you're trying to destroy his marriage with your lies." Ashley's groceries slipped from her trembling hands, oranges rolling across the parking lot, like the tears she refused to let fall. As she knelt to gather them, she heard the whispers, saw the phones recording her humiliation. Tomorrow this would be all over social media, another chapter in her public shaming. That night, in her tiny dormitory room at Pine Grove Apartments, Ashley packed her life into 2 suitcases. The room, barely bigger than a prison cell, had never felt like home, but now even its sparse comfort seemed a luxury she couldn't keep. Her hands trembled as she folded the few maternity clothes she'd optimistically purchased last week, back when she still believed in Richard's promises of a future together. Being an orphan raised by her grandmother meant she had no family to turn to, no shoulder to cry on. Her grandmother Victoria had been her rock, her only true family, but cancer had taken her 3 years ago. The memory of her grandmother's small brick house in Cedar Grove, a tiny village 3 hours away, suddenly surfaced like a lighthouse in a storm. The house would be dusty, probably falling apart, but it was hers, the only thing she had left in the world. Ashley paused at her small desk, picking up the framed photo of her grandmother. Victoria smiled back at her, gray hair tied in a neat bun, eyes twinkling with the wisdom of years. "What would you think of me now, Gran?" she whispered, carefully wrapping the frame in a sweater. Pregnant, alone, running away from gossip and shame. A sudden burst of laughter from the hallway made her jump. Through the thin walls, she could hear her neighbors talking. "Did you see the video from the parking lot? What a scene. I heard Richard Parker's wife is devastated. 20 years of marriage, and this little nobody tries to ruin it. Well, you know what they say about secretary positions these days." More laughter. Ashley's cheeks burned as she quickly stuffed the last of her belongings into her suitcase. Dawn was still hours away, but she couldn't wait. The overnight bus to Cedar Grove left at 3 a.m., perfect for slipping away unnoticed. The job listing at Joe's Auto Repair caught her eye as she waited at the bus station, huddled on a hard plastic seat under flickering fluorescent lights. Cleaner wanted, flexible hours, no experience necessary. The paper was weathered, the phone number barely legible, but it was a lifeline. It wasn't much, but it would do until her maternity leave. The station was nearly empty at this hour, just a few drowsy travelers and a homeless man sleeping in the corner. Ashley watched as the first hints of dawn began to color the sky, her hand resting protectively on her stomach. "It's just you and me now, little one," she whispered, "but we're going to be okay. We have to be." As she boarded the bus, an alert lit up her phone. Another social media post about her, this one from Richard's wife, Margaret. "To the young woman who tried to destroy my family, shame on you. The truth always comes out." Ashley turned off her phone, watching through the bus window as the town she'd hoped would be her home disappeared into the darkness behind her. The ancient bus wheezed to a stop at Cedar Grove's only gas station, its brakes squealing in protest.